A rescue party came ashore expecting 115 Englishmen, women, and children. They found no one at all. It was August 1590, on Roanoke Island, off what is now North Carolina. 3 years earlier, this had been a thriving colony, England's first attempt to settle in America. Now the settlement stood silent. The houses had been taken down, plank by plank. The heavy wall of tree trunks still stood, but the homes inside it were simply gone, as if the whole village had been packed up and carried away. There was no sign of a struggle. No bodies. No graves. 115 people had not died here, they had left. But nothing recorded where they had gone, or why. Nothing, except a single word. Carved deep into one of the wooden posts at the entrance, in capital letters, was the name of a place, and a people, CROATOAN. On a nearby tree, 3 more letters were cut into the bark, C-R-O, as if someone had begun the same word again, and stopped. There was no other message. Just the name. The man reading that word was the colony's own governor. He had left these people 3 years before, promising to return. Among them were his daughter, and his infant granddaughter. And now there was only a word on a post. What happened to the Roanoke colony has never been solved. To understand that word, you have to go back to the beginning, to a bold and fragile dream of a New England, across an ocean no one fully understood. In 1587, under a charter from Sir Walter Raleigh, around 115 colonists set sail from England. They were not soldiers or treasure hunters. They were families, farmers, craftsmen, women, and children, meaning to build a permanent home. Their governor was a man named John White, an artist and mapmaker, not a warrior. He had sailed to these shores before, and painted its people and its coasts. Now he was to lead the settlement itself. The plan was to settle further north, on Chesapeake Bay. But the ship's pilot refused to carry them any further, and left them on Roanoke Island instead, a place England had already tried, and failed, to hold. It was a difficult start. Relations with some of the nearby tribes had been poisoned by the earlier, harsher expeditions. One colonist was killed while gathering crabs alone. The settlers understood, quickly, how exposed they were. And yet, in the middle of that fear, there was a birth. White's daughter, Eleanor Dare, gave birth to a baby girl. They named her Virginia Dare, the first English child born in the Americas. Her birth was a promise that this colony was meant to last. Within days, that promise would sail away. The colony was short of supplies almost from the start, and there was only one person they trusted to go back to England for more. They asked their governor to leave them. John White did not want to go. To leave was to abandon his daughter and his newborn granddaughter on a hostile shore. But the colonists insisted his word, as governor, would carry the most weight back home. Reluctantly, he agreed. Before he left, they made a pact. If they moved from Roanoke while he was gone, they would carve the name of their destination into a tree or a post, so he could follow them. And there was a second, darker rule. If they were forced to leave in danger, attacked, or starving, they would carve a cross above the name. A cross would mean something went wrong. Come armed, or do not come at all. In late August 1587, 10 days after Virginia was born, John White boarded a ship and sailed for England. He watched the coastline of the New World shrink behind him. He expected to be gone a few months. He would not set foot on that island again for 3 years. Because the moment he reached England, the world he had left it in had changed. His country was about to go to war for its life. In 1588, the Spanish Armada, the greatest fleet in the world, sailed to invade England. And every ship in the kingdom was seized for the war. White was trapped. No captain would risk a voyage across the Atlantic while the enemy fleet was in the Channel. His relief mission, his family, all of it had to wait, month after month, while England fought for survival. He tried anyway. He secured 2 small ships to slip across on their own. But their crews turned to piracy on the way, were beaten in a sea fight, and limped back to England without ever reaching Roanoke. 3 years passed. 3 years in which his granddaughter, if she lived, was learning to walk and talk on the far side of the ocean, and he could do nothing but wait for a way back. Finally, in 1590, he found passage on a privateering expedition. On the 18th of August, Virginia Dare's 3rd birthday, John White was at last rowed ashore, toward the colony he had left behind. They saw smoke rising from the island, and took heart. But when they searched toward it, they found only an old fire in the grass, and no living soul. And then they reached the fort, and the word carved on the post. White read the word, and, strangely, he was relieved. Because CROATOAN was not a mystery to him. It was a place. And above it, there was no cross. CROATOAN was an island to the south, today called Hatteras, and home to a tribe friendly to the English, led by a man named Manteo, who had even sailed to England and back. The colonists had followed the pact exactly. The name told White where they had gone. The missing cross told him they had gone in peace. He wanted to sail there at once. It was only 50 miles down the coast. His family, he believed, was waiting for him at the end of that short journey. But the sea would not let him. A violent storm rose as they tried to reach CROATOAN. Anchors were lost, the ships were battered, and the captain refused to risk the voyage any longer. They were driven back out to the open ocean, and then all the way back to England. John White never reached CROATOAN Island. He never searched it. He never saw his daughter or his granddaughter again. He died a few years later, in Ireland, without ever knowing what became of the people he left, or whether Virginia Dare grew up at all. The one man who most wanted the answer was carried away from it by a storm. So where did they go? The simplest answer is the one the post itself gave. They went to CROATOAN, and were absorbed into the people who lived there. For centuries, hints seemed to support it. Explorers who later reached the Outer Banks described members of the Hatteras tribe with grey eyes and fair features, who claimed that some of their ancestors had been white people who could speak from a book. Other theories pulled in other directions. Perhaps the main group had tried, after all, to reach Chesapeake Bay, and were killed there, years later, by a powerful chief who wiped out a settlement of strangers, just as the English were founding Jamestown nearby. Perhaps disease took them. Perhaps a hostile tribe. Perhaps they simply split apart, some to CROATOAN, some inland, and dissolved into a continent that swallowed them without a record. Modern archaeology keeps circling the question. Digs on Hatteras Island, and at a site inland, have turned up English objects, a sword hilt, a slate, a ring, fragments of fine pottery, mixed into native settlements from exactly that time. Clues, but never proof. Never a single body, or grave, or name. And so the word remains what it always was, a direction no one alive could follow. 115 people walked off the edge of the written record, leaving behind one calm instruction: this way, for a rescuer who came 3 years too late, and was turned back by the sea. Where do you think the lost colony went? Tell me your theory in the comments. And the next file is already open.